Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. With this video, we continue our economic surveys detailed analysis series. And from this video, we'll be continuing with chapter 13 of the economic survey. So first, as we have been doing, we'll look at certain important terms and definitions that are mentioned in the survey and then go into the detailed analysis of the chapter, which is rural development and social progress from participation to partnership. So here the major themes discussed are rural development and social progress. Now if you talk about social progress, it will be related to hunger, malnutrition, nourishment, poverty, so on and so forth. So let's get started with chapter 13. So certain important terms and definitions that are mentioned over here is with respect to the child nourishment, or rather because of the lack of nourishment of children, there are certain let's say malnutrition that is happening among the children. Now even though they are declining, it is still considerable. So the things that have been mentioned over here, in fact predominantly the survey talks about the wasting, but we will look at other concepts as well. So first things first is the wasting of a child. Now when you talk about wasting, it is nothing but a child having low weight, a child who has low weight for the height. So the height, you can see this is the normal height that they have drawn. So the height is normal, but the weight as such is below normal. That means this child is going to be thin. So that is what wasting is all about. Low weight for height. You should be factually remembering this because it is going to be very important for your prelims. Next is stunting. So whenever something is stunted, it is with respect to the height, that the height has not grown. A child is stunted, that means the child's height is not growing. So remember, when you talk about stunting, it is the height that we are talking about. So here it will be the low height. Now low height with respect to what? Weight? No, absolutely not. If the height is low with respect to weight, the person will be obese, right? So that is not what we will do. It is going to be low height for age. The height is low for the age. So for the normal age, this should have been the height, but you can see the height is less over here. That is stunting. Next is underweight. Now underweight means low weight for age. Now see, this person is also thin. Now because this is underweight, this person will also be thin. But the idea here is this thinness or this low weight is with respect to the height. Then in that case it is wasting. But if it is low weight for age, then you say that it is underweight. So this person is basically underweight. Do not confuse with them. Wasting is low weight for height and underweight is low weight for age. Moving ahead, you have then overweight or obesity. That means high weight for height or the age. That means the BMI, body mass index of the person, is going to be high. So this is what overweight is about. And then finally you have the double burden. Double burden means someone who is stunted as well as overweight. So stunted means low height for age, but at the same time the weight is quite more as compared to the height. So that will be double burden. Now this is not mentioned in the economic survey, but is a relative term. So you should be knowing all these concepts. I hope that's clear. Let's now move ahead to the detailed analysis of the chapter itself. Now, this is the very first picture mentioned in this particular chapter, which talks about the progress in state-wise incidence of multi-dimensional poverty. Now, they have here taken the head count ratio percent, right? That means, and they have converted into percent. Percent means per 100 people, how many people are poor, right? So very recently there was also a news a couple of months back that the huge amount of microfinance loans were being defaulted, and almost 25% were from the state of Bihar, which also shows the state of Bihar would actually be quite poor. If you link that news, you realize here also the state of Bihar is having the highest amount of multi-dimensional poverty index. Now it has, because it has the highest, it is going to considerably decline, but it still remains the highest only. Anyway, let us have a look. So from 2015-16 to 2022-23, it has declined. Let us have a look at that. So the state of Bihar had the highest amount of, you can say, multi-dimensional poverty index, whereas the states that are in green, so you have basically Kerala, you have Tamil Nadu, which are in green over here. Here they have also improved, but they were previously also in green. But the entire map of India, if you can see, the dark red and oranges have been converted into orange, yellow and greenish, and the green, light green that was there have become darker in green. So overall in India there has been an improvement. In fact, there is not a single state which has got worse. The states have become better and better only. Of course, Jammu and Kashmir, now you have them as the union territories, but still the data clearly shows that throughout India, multi-dimensional poverty index head count has improved, or the number has gone down. Now the question is, what is this multi-dimensional poverty index? Now this multi-dimensional poverty index, it is calculated by the United Nations at the same time, United Nations Development Program. At the same time, you have Niti Aayog also calculating the multi-dimensional poverty index. Now they use almost the same criteria, just that Niti Aayog has modified certain criteria. So let us have a look at that. So if you talk about the multi-dimensional poverty index, it is based on 3 dimensions. The first dimension is that of health, the second dimension is of education, and the third dimension is of the lifestyle. For example, right, in first dimension there are 2 things that are there, which Niti Aayog has increased to 3. Let us have a look what this is. So you have basically the nutrition, you have nutrition over here, plus you have child mortality over here. Child mortality is present. In education, the school attendance, the years of schooling and the school attendance. So years of schooling plus the school attendance is included over here. Now in lifestyle there are 6 things that are included. So for example, electricity is included, safe drinking water is included, sanitation is included, cooking fuel is included, housing is included, and assets are included. These are the 6 things that are included over here. Now we need to understand that this is 3 dimensions, and it ranges between 0 to 1, and the cutoff is what? 1/3. That means anyone who's scoring 1/3 or more will not be multidimensionally poor. Now the entire score can range from 0 to 1, 0 being the least, 1 being the maximum. That maximum 1 is divided equally into the 3 components: health, education and lifestyle. So health has 1/3, education has 1/3, and lifestyle also has 1/3. Now this health has 2 different components and they both are given equal weightage. So nutrition becomes 1/6 and child mortality also becomes 1/6. Same is the case with education. There it is divided into 2, so both of them become 1/6 each. Now the lifestyle component is divided into 6 equal parts, so each of them will actually be 1/18. Now this is what the United Nations uses. Now what the Niti Aayog has done is, Niti Aayog has modified it a bit. So let us look at what the modification is all about. So the education part is kept exactly the same. It is exactly the same. There is no changes. If you look at the lifestyle part, So all the 6 components are the same, but the Niti Aayog has added one component, that is the bank account. Niti Aayog has added one component, and that component is the bank account, as a result of which under lifestyle there will be 7 different parameters, and the weightage for health, education and lifestyle they have kept the same. So if 1/3 is the weightage of lifestyle divided into 7 equal components, so each component will have a weightage of 1/21. Here in education, everything is the same. Education is 1/3, year of schooling and school attendance is also 1/6, it's the same. But there are certain changes that have taken place in health. So in health, what Niti Aayog has done is, health will have the same 1/3 weightage. Nutrition's weightage remains 1/6, but this child mortality weightage or child mortality that is there, it is now divided into 2 different mortalities. So you have the child mortality as well as the maternal mortality that is there, maternal mortality. So here you have child mortality and maternal mortality. Now child mortality alone had 1/6. Now that 1/6 gets divided into these two. So they become 1/12 and 1/12. Now this multidimensional poverty index, of course, since 2005-6, when United Nations itself is calculating, but now Niti Aayog has its own slight verifications over here. So this is the Niti Aayog's criteria. You should remember both the criteria. In exam they can ask you any one of them, or then can ask you the difference as well. I hope that's clear. And we have also seen that the multidimensional poverty index has improved as well. Next is the trend in the social service expenditure of the general government center and the state combined. So here it's expenditure on education. Education is the important word over here. You have expenditure on education, then expenditure on health, and the social service expenditure is as percentage of total expenditure. So if you look at expenditure on education has been, of course, it's higher than health. This fact at least you should know. It's in lakh crore. You don't have to know the data as such, but it has increased over the years. In the same manner, if you look at the expenditure on health, the expenditure on health also has increased over the year. If you look at social service expenditure as a percentage of total expenditure, so from 25.4, it has increased to 26.6. However, there has been ups and downs. There is a slight decrease, then increase, increase and increase. So it has not been consistent over the years because it's a percentage wise things. So monetary wise it would have increased, but percentage wise there has been ups and downs over here. So almost in fact more than 1/4 of the entire expenditure is on the social services. Now this is the expenditure as a percentage of GDP with respect to education and health. We want our education expenditure should be close to 5% of GDP, but that is not yet the case. However, improvements are being made. So if you look at financial year 19, education expenditure on education was 2.8%, which increased to 2.9%, which is a good thing. However, you will then see a decline to 2.7, remains constant and constant at 2.7. So there is not much increase was here, but here there is no increase as such. If you look at that on health, it has increased, but again here also is a decline, increase and another decline and another increase. So the expenditure on the health and education is not consistently increasing. In fact, we have seen decline in them if you look at the last 6-7 years. Now this is the total expenditure as a percentage. So if you talk about as a expenditure as a percentage, so this is the social service expenditure as a percentage of GDP, which have seen increase, but again this has also declined, and then again increase is there. So a decline is also clearly visible in all of these 3 parameters. So this is something that is important to note. Let's move ahead. Here the economic survey talks about the National Rural Livelihood Mission that is there, which empowers, of course, the rural communities from the SHG self-help groups to the Lakpati Didis. The Lakpati Didis means talking about the incentives given to the female, making them Lakpatis. So you have various things that the government has given data about, right? 1.4 lakh bank Sakhi women delivering financial services. Bank Sakhi means friend of the bank. Then new rural businesses are being driven by non-farm enterprises. That means there are prevalence of non-farm growth also. Social inclusion driven by 5,500 gender resource centers. Saras and Ajivika brand path to 3 crore Lakpati Didis is what is being talked about. So here this is specific to the women as such. Didi means sister. So let's move ahead. Now those numbers are not that important, but those schemes becomes important for you. Okay, let's move ahead. Urban rural gaps in child nutrition according to the National Family Health Survey 1921. So urban area, urban rural gap in child nutrition. So this is for urban area and this is for rural area. It's a percentage of children under 5 years of age. So for urban, you can see it is less. The stunted, the percentage of stunted is less than in the rural areas. The wasting in urban area is also lesser. The underweight is also lesser. However, as expected, if you talk about the overweight, there will be more overweight children in the urban areas than the rural areas. So obesity, overweight is the problem in the urban areas. There is an issue of sedentary lifestyle in the urban areas. The non-communicable diseases, NCDs, which we have seen in the previous chapter of economic survey, is on the rise in the entire India, specifically in the urban areas, which needs to be controlled. But the number of stunted, wasted and underweight is also quite high. Look at the stunted number. More than 1/3. This is also more than 1/3. If you club this also, it will remain more than 1/3. This will be close to 1/3, and this is about 1/5 of the children who are wasted. These are really not good numbers. Now, the thing is, we keep on saying that only 11% is poverty and 5.3% is the extreme poverty. That means there is some concerns in even measuring of the poverty, because concerns in the sense that we are saying that only these many people are poor, but then why so many children are stunted, wasted and underweight? That means the threshold that we are using for poverty is not good enough. That needs to improve, and that threshold itself can show that there have been too many people out of poverty, which might not necessarily be the case. So we need to ensure that instead of focusing on making this number 7%, 5%, 2%, we need to ensure how we define poverty and ensure that this does not happen. If poverty percentage is 11%, stunted, wasting and underweight should not at all be over 11%. But if it is, that means the monetary value that we are considering for poverty line is not good enough, not enough to avoid the stunting, wasting and being underweight of the children. That is something to be looked into in context with each other. I hope that's clear. Now moving ahead, see the same things were also given under the hunger index. However, India had rejected the hunger index, reason being the total weightage of the criteria 100%, out of which the children were given the criteria of around 25% and the adults had only 25% of the weightage. So it was being set as a hunger index, but used to predominantly take into consideration the children only. That is one of the reasons given as to why it was not accepted by the government of India. However, even if they are giving that, yes, there can be a technicality that you're calling it as a hunger index and taking only 25% of adult. That is not very proportionate, At the same time, you can accept it by assuming that it is majorly the child hunger index. There is no such point to reject it, but fair enough, the government themselves have this data, which is coming from the National Family Health Survey, which itself shows a picture about the situation of malnourishment in India. So that's about it for this chapter. Now stay tuned with Legacy IAS Academy for more such videos and the upcoming economic survey chapters as well. Thank you.